Hello and welcome back to Friday Movie Recaps. If you are a Nigerian or a fan of Nigerian or any other country or organization where the leaders oppress you and you desire to break free, then this movie is for you. I will be recapping a movie titled If I Am President, released in the year 2018. Story written, produced and directed by Bright Wonder O. Obasi. The full length of the movie is 2 hours, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. But you don't have anything to worry because Friday Movie Recaps is here to summarize everything in just few minutes. This movie captures the present political terrain in Nigeria. It uses entertainment to galvanize citizens' action against corruption in Nigeria, as Obasi, the story writer, will say. The movie have its main character as Zinachi Ohams, a presidential aspirant who have a beautiful wife, Mitchell, and an intelligent daughter, Munachi. Zinachi Ohams is the presidential candidate of the Nigerian Rebirth Party, made up of young idealists who recently made a shift from social activism to full-time politics. Well, the movie began with Zinachi and his family preparing to go for his campaign. They arrived the campaign ground where a large number of Nigerians were already gathered. He is ushered in to give his speech. In his speech, he thanked all for nominating him as president for the nation. He pointed out that he is from the East, raised in the North and schooled in the West. And so in all his years around the nation, he has seen that we are all caught up in the same struggles, where our voices are silenced and our hopes dismissed. The disease corruption, he says, have plagued us for long, where our wealth, which is enough to make us blossom, isn't. And now snakes and monkeys are in the run for crimes they never committed. It's the dawn of another new beginning, he says. He ends his speech promising accountability, transparency, giving the citizens adequate information to hold their government accountable and do what is right if elected as the president. And the crowd cheered him up. While on their way home, their vehicle ran into a speeding truck coming out from an adjacent route, and there was a colliding sound. Next, we see a scene of an angry mob beating up a young boy who stole from the market, ready to set him ablaze as they pour fuel on him. The campaign manager of the All People's Democratic Party stops by and halts the mob. The boy's face is brightened with hope as the man approached. He inquired from the boy why he stole, and the boy said he was hungry. He asked him if he hasn't heard of the 11th commandment, which the boy replied no. Looking disappointed, the man rose up to go. The boy begs the man not to leave him behind. But the man turns his back at him, lights up a cigarette, and throws it at the boy, who is already drenched with fuel, and he went up in flames. This politician decides to address us, the audience, who are interested in Nigerian politics. He says, never hit the big guys. Focus on the little people. They are the muggles who have the power but they don't know it. They can easily set ablaze one who stole just a loaf of bread from the market, while the big guys loot millions of naira and are rather adorned with chieftaincy titles. That is why it is so easy to scam them, like the politicians have done for the past 68 years. As a politician, your job is just to position yourself between the trillions of naira budgets and the 180 million people who need it, then siphon it to your interest people and to your bedroom. Nigerians, he says, only talk. Their anger extinguishes in beer parlors. If they ever riot, it's to kill themselves. Taking us back to about 13 months ago, Zinachi with his friend Bobby were in his living room. His wife and daughter later joins them. Bobby couldn't get a job he went for, and so they talk about how one needs to use his football age to get to apply for a job, and yet won't get it because the tribalist interviewers will rather reserve the positions for their families and friends. Munachi calls them the tribalist line of jubilees as she walks away, leaving Bobby stunned at her. They increase the volume of the TV as they watch a new female politician, Mrs. Atinuke Williams, declare her intentions to run for the post of the presidency in the coming elections. At the same time, the members of the All People's Democratic Party, made up of some old Nigerian fathers who have been ruling the Nigerian politics for decades now, were also watching the news. Their manager brought to their notice Zinachi and Mrs. Atinuke's million followers in their social media handle in such short space of declaring their intentions. Although some of the old men said there was nothing to worry about because the youth agitation and the woman showing interest is not a new thing. The manager tells them that considering the recent upgrade of the voting system introduced by INEC, it will make it difficult, if not impossible, to rig any elections, and to think that 75% of internet users are the youths. It poses a threat to them. So it's either they let the youths will, or they use them will it to their own favor by giving them a youth president that they will still control. But Senator Hazel Dimbo kicks against it. The manager reminds them of how an epic digital marketing unsat an incumbent president, which have never happened in the history of Nigeria. So they had better not ignore the changes coming to avoid danger. Back to present, at Heritage Hospital, where Zinachi and his family are battling for their lives, a handful of paparazzi are everywhere, waiting for a response from Zinachi's manager and secretary, Bumi, who promised to address them shortly concerning the present situation of things. She sees the rush of nurses and doctors towards Munachi's private room, and she follows suit. She became all emotional as she watches Munachi from the window, battling for her life. Back in time again, Munachi and her mother were preparing to go out while Zinachi was on his laptop. When they viewed on TV, Senator Hazel Dimbo of the All People's Democratic Party declaring his intentions to run for presidency and the bitter reactions of the masses towards it. The people point out how in the same country, Senator Dimbo still have a pending case of money laundering with the EFCC, and here he is making plans to run presidency in the same country. The Youth Party chose Zinachi to represent them in the forthcoming elections, but he at first had his reservations, pending his wife and daughter's approval. They agreed to give him time to think about it. It wasn't easy convincing his wife. She asked him how many fallen heroes have been truly celebrated, and also lamented on how she have always cherished the simplicity and privacy of their lives, and now he wants to take that away from them. He also sought advice from his godfather, who asked him if he is ready, for things can get very rough on the national stage. How his life and that of his family will be investigated, distorted and manipulated. He will lose every semblance of privacy. In their next party meeting, Zinachi agreed to run for the elections, so they got to work aligning methodologies on how to win the elections. They listed out communication being the main campaign tool. They will have to communicate clearly their visions, goals, values, and benefits, and specific ways they intend to tackle the challenges of the masses, knowing what to focus on and where to spend their resources and measure them. Key strategies, they said, is increasing voters' turnout 100% by sensitizing people to vote, ensuring voting is made easy as well, guarantee security at the polls. They asked Zinachi if he had any unexpected surprises, past or present, the press may visit on, so they can prepare answers. Apart from what he earlier told them, he said, there is none he can remember for now. All TV channels announces Zinachi as the leading contender of Nigerian Rebirth Party as he presents his acceptance speech. Coming back again to present, Zinachi is still unconscious in the hospital. In a trance, he wanders in an open place when his late father, dressed on white, appears behind, welcoming Zinachi home. But he rebukes him, saying this is not home. Zinachi has a long-lasting resentment towards his late father, as he believes his father, a politician who once couldn't even hurt a fly, betrayed his best friend to death. He had grown up nursing the fear of ending up like his father in politics and otherwise. He demonstrated this resentment as he tells him to stay far away from him, refusing to listen to him, looking around, asking where this could be. He woke up from coma panting really hard and immediately demanding to know where his wife and daughter were. They tried calming him down, but he refused until they took him to his wife, who was not yet awake, as the doctor told him that she lost her pregnancy, and then to his daughter Munachi, who was still in coma. Zinachi goes to look for his car keys so he could go out. They try stopping him, reminding him that his car was bashed in the accident. Notwithstanding, he still wants to go out, and they kept stopping him. He busted out, saying that they tried to kill him and his family, but the others think it might be a coincidence, which he strongly disagreed. Even if they tried, Bumi said, they tried and failed. Because on this path he is on, God has got his back, not man. Just then, there is a rape scandal about him on the news, and the victim was being interviewed on live TV. They tried to stop him from watching it, but he insisted. He ran to his wife's room and met her watching the interview in tears. Zinachi storms out of the hospital. They kept trying to stop him, saying he needs to rest. But he says the country's enemies aren't at rest, so why should they rest? His stepbrother and sister met him on the way, thanking God he is still alive. He has told them earlier to leave his family alone, so what are they doing here, he asked. His brother tells him that out of his experience as campaign strategist for those said people for over 5 years, the accident is no coincidence, and those people will stop at nothing until they see him down. On the live TV, the so-called rape victim, while interviewed, was mixing things up, making it obvious she was lying. At that point, Zinachi enters the studio without an invitation, saving the interviewer the introductory part, according to him. He apologizes to the studio owner and stops Cindy, who got up to leave, saying if she leaves, people are going to think she is the devil here. She sits back uncomfortably. Zinachi first apologizes to Cindy about the way things ended between them. But he said, you know that this rape thing never happened. This thing they are asking her to do, same people will never ask their children to do it. That is how they lead millions of Nigerians to self-destruct. Then Zinachi, facing the camera, sends a message to them saying they should brace up, for their strategies are shallow and Nigerians are not the fools they take them to be. In the next scene, one of Zinachi's managers, named Martins, presents some commercials that were meant to be used to tarnish the image of Senator Hazal Dimbo, the presidential aspirant of the All People's Democratic Party, as a way of getting back at them for putting up a rape scandal against Zinachi. Zinachi didn't welcome the development, saying they will not follow their lead, they are going to differ, and will have a campaign that their children and generations to come will be proud of, and not one built on fabricated stories. Martins isn't happy at all, and Zinachi is worried if he should get another campaign manager that knows what the struggle is all about. Zinachi goes to talk to the Imam of the mosque and to the president of Christian Association of Nigeria to sensitize their members to vote these corrupt politicians out, as it is an act God will be proud of. The bishop says the church doesn't indulge in politics, but Zinachi quotes the Bible passage that says, when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice and the land is at peace. He went ahead to quote the passage also that says, faith without works is dead. Zinachi gets to his wife's hospital bed and meets her absence. He later meets her in their daughter's room, who was still in coma. But she says to him she will appreciate if he leaves them alone. While he was on his way out, she asked him where the crowd that screamed his name on the announcement and on social media are. This statement rather gives him an idea, as he came out with crowdfunding as a means to get funds for his campaign. He shares this with his team and they buy the idea, only that Martins wants to know why they are refusing someone ready to innocently sponsor the whole of the campaign process, and they are rather opting for disturbing the poor Nigerians to part with their little earnings. Zinachi echoed back the word innocently and then says he will remind him of that statement very soon. Bumi shares the work needed to be done amongst the team members to get the crowdfunding rolling. She wants to involve Zinachi's brother, who is an expert on information tech, but Zinachi dismisses it, saying he has no brother. Just then, he gets a call from his fellow aspirant, Mrs. Atinuke Williams. During his visit to her, she wants to know if he thinks that she have got a chance in the elections. Zinachi says he can go home and sleep if she wins, knowing the country is in safe hands, as she is one of the few people he respects in this race. She shows him a photo of her late son and shares his story. He graduated from Stafford University, and when he comes home, he tells his mother that the best one can be in another man's country is a glorified refugee. But he was butchered at the 2011 riots in Kaduna while on his youth service to his fatherland. She got all emotional and started sobbing. All she wanted, she said, was to see a Nigerian of her son's dreams come true, and that she can honestly see her son's strength in Zinachi. One of Zinachi's friends, Timmy, who is now a celebrity and who have also been ignoring Zinachi's calls, sees the crowdfunding Zinachi have been running online and its poor performance after a week, and decides to meet up with Zinachi. Zinachi's team, on the other hand, are feeling disappointed at the turn-up of donations, but Zinachi encourages them that there is still 1 month to the elections and things might turn around for them. Timmy and Zinachi meets up, but Zinachi doesn't want his fame nor fortune. He reminds him that yesterday he was a nobody, today he is a celebrity, tomorrow is in the hands of God. Those same people that have made him who he is today can't even afford 3 square meal a day, and yet he cannot fight for them in his platform where no one will question his actions. Then he got a phone call that his daughter is awake from coma. He rushes to the hospital and they embraces. The doctor informs him that Muna cannot walk again, but Zinachi has faith that she will one day walk, either spiritually or medically. This new condition of his daughter got him so worried all day. His brother and sister told him he shouldn't think they are coming to him so that they can get something from him when he finally wins. But it is because they believe in his vision and have raised 3 million to support him. But he refuses to accept it. This got his brother angry as he shouts at him to then stop begging for money online since he has got so much pride. With that, he walked away. Bumi isn't happy about this. She tells Zinachi that the fight is bigger than all of them, and so they need each other. Thus, forgiveness is a starting point. Zinachi listens to her and accepts his brother's donation. While still jubilating over that, they also received 11,250,000 naira from Nigerian Arise Foundation. They also got the information that 25 million of the total sum was donated by Mrs. Atinuke Williams. Shortly, she is in the news, making a speech of her stepping down from running for the office of the president to join Zinachi Ohams and enjoined all her dedicated followers to do the same. This brought so much confidence to the members of the Nigerian Rebirth Party and fear to the All People's Democratic Party, which triggered them to slate a meeting with Zinachi. In the meeting, they call him a boy who knows nothing about the struggles and fights in the country, calling his ventures youthful exuberance. They make him an offer to step down from running the elections and join them as they will compensate him with a worthy office. Or alternatively, he runs for the post under their party on a mutual agreement so he can be sure of a win because they never lose. Zinachi chooses none of the options and in turn makes an offer to them too. He says to them that their party should present people of proven integrity as candidates for all positions in the coming elections, or bring their party flags down if what they have to present are the same criminals they presented last time. Secondly, every one of them should hold a press conference apologizing to Nigerians for all the years of thefts and wrong governance. If they don't do it, he will ensure they all spend the rest of their lives in jail. The campaign manager of the All People's Democratic Party talks to us, the audience, again, saying in politics, this is the time for some damage control. Zinachi meets up with a gangster the All People's Democratic Party uses to do their dirty jobs. He happens to be Zinachi's old-time schoolmate, who was less privileged, and the country system have messed up. Zinachi says he heard from a reliable source that he has been paid to sabotage his campaigns and elections, but that he offers him an opportunity to make an honest living by mobilizing his guys to vote these evil men out instead of causing violence. He looks unperturbed and advises Zinachi to wake up. Zinachi watches in the news Temi the celebrity, angrily addressing the press in front of his home. He complains that just 2 weeks after posting Zinachi's campaign on his social media pages and sending his donations too, they send what he calls a political message to him by raining bullets on his parked car in front of his home when obviously he wasn't in there, but that he has a message for them too. As a Nigerian citizen, he says, he has the right to support whoever he chooses and believes in. They also call threatening Bumi on how they were going to tear her and her son pieces by pieces, and this scared her to the bones. But Zinachi tells her that they have been threatening everyone in the team with the aim of tearing them apart, but they shouldn't give them the satisfaction. The caller at that moment calls back Bumi, but this time Zinachi picks up the call and tells whoever it is at the other end that he or she is going to rot in jail soon. Zinachi calls on the government to step in and protect the rights of the citizens, as everyone is entitled to their constitutional rights as a citizen. The attack on innocent citizens, especially members of his campaign, is getting out of hand. If nothing is done, he proposes a protest. Our political guru tells us that when situation begins to get out of hand and the people decide to protest, you hit them with a bigger problem that will swallow up the other, such as a major fuel scarcity. This strategy actually worked out for them because people couldn't turn out in number for the protest on the slated date, as they were all still lined up in the station struggling to get fuel. Munachi is on her physiotherapy session as she struggles to lift her legs. The therapist tells Michelle that Munachi's chances of making it are slim. Zinachi is preparing for the presidential debate and is seen messing up with answers as he lacked concentration. At home, he lies on bed with Munachi, his daughter, and they sing together Heal the World by Michael Jackson. She encourages him concerning his presidential debate coming up the following day. I know you will do just fine because I'll be watching, she said. It's the debate day and 4 candidates are out. Senator Hazal Dimbo made his opening speech with emphasis on his 35 years of serving experience, which he says makes him the most qualified amongst all his opponents. Mrs. Regiel Waziri of the Justice Party made her opening speech based on getting equity and justice for the Nigerian citizens, as she stated using example that she as a politician, in just 1 year, have earned much more than she have ever earned as a teacher in her 30 years of teaching profession. It was Zinachi's time for his opening speech, and he used a short video clip to summarize the Nigerians' problems and the solution their party offers. He said they will remove the hindrance that stops the free flow of the nation's rich resources to the masses who actually own them, and then they will activate their sustainability plan. This media presentation isn't going down well with Senator Hazal as he questions his video use, but the moderator allows Zinachi to continue as she overruled it, saying media presentation wasn't prohibited in the opening statements. The last contestant, Tagamamunde of the Fearless Party, says that Nigerians' problem is fear, and as he is elected as president, he will make everyone have the fearlessness of a lion so that together they can fight for their rights in the country. Following this was Senator Hazal and Zinachi attacking each other verbally, as Senator Hazal tried to defend himself based on the outstanding money laundering case he has with the EFCC as raised by Zinachi, calling it a false allegation. Senator Hazal, on the other hand, brought to the open the fact that Zinachi is of questionable character himself, as he was expelled by his church for sexual immorality. This sudden point almost got Zinachi off balance, but even when the moderator said, "That is a bit personal, let them move on," Zinachi accepts to respond to it. He explained that the expulsion was as a result of his wife getting pregnant 2 weeks before marriage, which is against his faith. But as a man of integrity, he took responsibility for his actions and mistakes. He then tells Senator Hazal that peradventure anything happens to Nigeria, he has nothing to lose because of already numerous acquired assets, both home and abroad, including his US citizenship. Whereas as for them, Zinachi and millions of Nigerians out there have nowhere else to run to. Their silent but loud battle went on for a while before all candidates' closing statements were taken. Zinachi was cheered up by his team members at the end of the debate, but the joy was cut short when one of them gave them the news that, according to the survey, 70% of their supporters do not have their PVC. He called INEC, but they tell him that registration is closed. Even when Zinachi reminds him that it is common knowledge that INEC cannot close registration until it is about 30 days to elections. And this is just 2 months to the elections. But this knowledge was of no use because the person in the other side of the phone hung up the call. Michelle, Zinachi's wife, meets up with her father, who happens to be the judge of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She begs him to please place a call to fix the INEC registration problem because its registration closure at this time is politically motivated. But he doesn't want to get himself involved. She speaks to his conscience to consider the rights of the people he had sworn to protect. Zinachi's supporters are all gathered for a protest against INEC's unfair closure of registration before due date. As Zinachi addresses them so they can move, he gets a phone call from the incumbent president. When he got there, he asked him to abort the protest and stop trying to sabotage his government, as he has done the few days on newspaper, radio, television, social media, and other platforms. Zinachi apologizes if his actions angered him, for they were unintentional. The president promised to intervene. Zinachi comes back, letting everyone know that they won't be going for the protest again, although it was really hard for him to say it. Martins got loose, saying them the president's words. He tries to instigate the crowd to go against the president's words, saying it is one of those their promises they will never keep. Zinachi ignores him and says there is going to be no protest. Final. Martins walks away angrily, goes behind and calls his anonymous caller, telling him of the new development. I think it is necessary to mention here that Martins have always been cited calling or sending messages to an anonymous person. Bumi walks up to him at that moment he ends the call. Bumi, sensing something is wrong. She tells him that he can get out of whatever it is he has gotten himself into, but he denies knowing what she is talking about. It is 4 weeks later, and up till now, INEC haven't opened their portal for registration. Zinachi is seen restless and wants to go on with the protest, but his wife and daughter disapproved of it. Michelle says she doesn't like the dream she had about the protest. Just at that moment, Zinachi receives a call from Mrs. Atinuke, who asks him why he is going on with the protest when the president have told him not to. He looks clueless. Who then is leading the protest I just watched on television right now, she asked. Zinachi changes the TV channel and watches in surprise a protest led by Martins with Bumi beside him. The protest was labeled illegal by the police, who stopped them on the way. The protesters kept shouting, "Allow us to vote," when a bullet from an unknown source was fired at the police. The police fired back at the protesters, and many are seen lying in a pool of blood as others fled for their lives. At the hospital, Zinachi received reports that 22 are confirmed dead and many injured. They run off to inquire if Bumi is among the dead. Luckily, she was receiving treatment. The judge, Michelle's father, calls, blaming his daughter, who compelled him to put a call to the president, who in turn asked Zinachi to step down and allow him handle the matters. But yet, he took the innocent people out to get them killed. On TV, people air out their views concerning the protests. Some said, "How can the government kill citizens on a peaceful protest?" While another said it wasn't a peaceful one, that the police were only defending themselves after 2 of them were gunned down. Another says the gunmen were planted in the crowd of the peaceful protesters, while another said Zinachi have murdered 22 Nigerians in cold blood and should answer for it. Mrs. Atinuke says Zinachi didn't lead the protests, some other people did behind him, undoubtedly motivated by external forces, and those people need to be fished out. Zinachi is seen alone in a basement, crying, punching the wall, till he bleeds out of frustration. The president makes a call, blaming the person at the receiving end for what has just happened, saying he had refused to reopen the INEC registration site even when he instructed him before traveling out, with the unaccepted excuse of saying the opening of the portal favors a party over the other. Still in the basement, Zinachi falls asleep and sees his father in a dream. His father told him that now he can see what it means to be trapped in a self-serving political maneuver by some social paths and have yourself to blame for the rest of your life. This time, Zinachi was calm, listening to this man talk to him. He apologized for never asking him what really happened, but the man replied, "It will be an error for them to succeed with you as they succeeded with me." Zinachi woke up, and for the first time, he went to his late father's best friend's widow to ask her what really happened between his father and her husband. The woman tells him that his father was asked to poison her husband, but they opted to kill him themselves just before he was to be warned by Zinachi's father. So the man never forgave himself till death. Zinachi for the first time visited his father's grave and apologized for wrongly judging him all the while. Zinachi tells his wife that he quits, but his wife says he has gone too far to quit. His daughter rolls in on her wheelchair, telling him that unfortunately, he was realizing this too late. For quitters don't win, and winners don't quit. Saying this, she got up from the wheelchair, which got Zinachi jumping off his feet towards her to help, but his wife stopped him. Munachi continued saying one of his father's favorite quotes, "We don't stop when we are tired, we stop when we are done." The trio embraced each other firmly. It is the mass burial day for the 22 dead protesters, and Zinachi gives a heart-touching speech, touching all the nooks of political gallivancy and how every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria are all to blame for the dead, because we all know who these corrupt politicians are that infiltrated the peaceful protests, hijacking it, bringing down 2 policemen, catalyzing the gun down of these 22. Yet, we all allow them gallivant freely among us. We seek corruption-free nation, yet we do nothing about it. We don't even have the PVC to vote them out. Our brothers and sisters try to cross over the Sahara in search of greener pastures, feeding on plants, drinking their urine in order to quench their thirst. And above them are these politicians on their luxurious jets, on first-class seats, sitting on a bottle of wine, caring less. Meanwhile, a mercenary sent to gun down Zinachi walks in, getting himself a position, ready to shoot. Zinachi's speech more and more got intense. He mentions the thousands fed by sharks as their boats capsized in the Mediterranean seas, all because they were looking for greener pastures in a foreign land. While these same men sit in bars by the beaches, feeding on the fishes that have long fed on our lost faithful patriots. He says the 22 dead lying there cry out in vengeance, not for themselves alone, but for the ones that have lost their lives on the horrible roads that have been commissioned to be fixed, but isn't. For the ones that lost their lives fighting for their pensions and gone unrewarded. For those that have lost their lives on civil and religious crises masterminded by this evil genesis. They cry out for those soldiers who have lost their lives to insurgents sponsored by these devilish politicians. For our failed justice system that have sent thousands of men and women to jail for crimes they know nothing about. At this point, the mercenary is seen struggling with his emotions as he slumps to the floor, weeping. There is nothing wrong with our country that cannot be fixed with what is right, Zinachi continues, as he calls on everyone to rewrite and change the headlines from door to door, churches, mosques, social media, schools, organizations. We should declare there is no peace for the wicked. While the speech is still going on, Bumi is seen walking in and joins the others. We also see a scene when Martins and the campaign manager of the All People's Democratic Party were arrested. Zinachi enjoins Nigerians all over the world to get their PVC so together we can build a nation where international bodies will join us to say, "Oh death, where is your sting? Oh corruption, where is your victory?" The movie ended as Zinachi recited the national anthem and everyone stood up. Thank you for watching to the end. I'll implore you to make meaning out of this and take action today. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do and turn on the notification bell for more like this. Bye.